The desert sun beat down mercilessly on the small ranch at the edge of the Apache territory, where dust devils danced across the parched earth and the horizon shimmered with heat. James Carter wiped the sweat from his brow as he struggled with the fence post that had fallen yet again. His ranch, if it could even be called that, was barely more than a few acres of stubborn land that refused to yield much beyond wild grass and disappointment. He had come west with dreams like so many others, believing that hard work and determination could carve out a prosperous life from the unforgiving wilderness. But 3 years of drought, failed crops, and dwindling savings had taught him that the land took more than it gave. His neighbors had either abandoned their claims or found success through luck he didn't possess. James was too proud to give up, but too poor to truly succeed. It was on one of these difficult mornings, as he attempted to repair his water pump, that he first saw her. She appeared like a mirage at first, walking along the ridge that separated his property from the open desert. Her silhouette was unmistakable against the sky, and even from a distance, he could see the confidence in her stride. She was Apache, there was no question about that, and his heart quickened with both caution and curiosity. The tensions between the settlers and the Apache people had eased somewhat in recent years, but trust remained fragile. James had always treated the few Native Americans he encountered with respect, believing that the land belonged to them long before any deed or claim could say otherwise. He continued working, pretending not to notice her, though his awareness of her presence never wavered. Days passed, and he saw her again, this time closer. She was gathering herbs near the creek that ran through the corner of his property. James approached slowly, his hands visible and empty of any weapon. When she looked up at him, he was struck by the depth and intelligence in her dark eyes. She was younger than he had thought, perhaps in her mid-20s, with strong features and an air of quiet dignity. "The creek is free for all," he said simply. "You're welcome to whatever you need." She studied him for a long moment before nodding once. "You are different from the others," she said in English that carried only the slightest accent. "You do not look at this land with greed." "Hard to be greedy about something that barely keeps you alive," James replied with a self-deprecating smile. "I'm James Carter." "I am Aida," she responded. "It means first to dance in my language, though there has been little dancing in recent times." That encounter sparked an unlikely friendship. Aida began to visit more regularly, at first simply passing through, then stopping to talk. She taught him which plants could be used for medicine, which could purify water, and how to read the signs of changing weather in ways his almanac never could. In return, he shared his meager supplies when she needed them and helped her carry the heavier bundles of wood or herbs she collected. Through their conversations, James learned that Aida's story was one of profound loss and resilience. She had been married to a warrior who died in one of the last conflicts with settlers 3 years prior. She had no children, which in her tribe's eyes was seen as both a misfortune and a mark against her. Her husband's family had taken most of what she owned, leaving her with little status and few prospects. She lived on the margins of her community, respected for her knowledge of healing but pitted for her solitary state. "In my culture," she explained one evening as they sat by his small fire, "a woman's value is often measured by the children she bears and the family she builds. Without these, I am like a tree that bears no fruit. Visible, but ultimately of little consequence." James felt a kinship with her in that moment, both of them struggling against the weight of expectations and circumstances beyond their control. "I understand something of that," he said quietly. "Back east, I was supposed to take over my father's business, marry the banker's daughter, live a life already mapped out. But I wanted something different, something that was mine. Now look at me, barely scraping by, no family, no real future to speak of." "But you are free," Aida pointed out. "You chose this path, even if it is difficult. That is not nothing." As autumn approached, their friendship deepened into something neither had anticipated. There was no dramatic moment of realization, no sudden confession. Instead, it grew like the desert plants Aida had taught him about, slow and steady, adapted to survive in harsh conditions. They found comfort in each other's company, understanding in shared silences, and eventually, a love that transcended the boundaries their different worlds tried to impose. But both knew that their connection existed in a fragile space. If James's fellow settlers knew he was involved with an Apache woman, he would face ostracism at best, violence at worst. If Aida's people discovered her relationship with a white settler, she would be cast out completely, severed from the last threads connecting her to her heritage and community. Winter came early that year, and with it, unexpected hardship. A sudden storm damaged James's barn and killed 2 of his 3 horses. He injured his leg badly while trying to save them and found himself bedridden, feverish, and alone. For 3 days he drifted in and out of consciousness, certain that this was how his Western dream would end, alone and forgotten in a land that had never truly welcomed him. But Aida came. She had noticed his absence and found him delirious with infection. For 2 weeks, she stayed, using every bit of her healing knowledge to draw out the poison from his wound, to cool his fever, and to keep him alive. She risked discovery by her people and his neighbors, but she never hesitated. When James finally recovered enough to speak clearly, he found Aida sitting by his bedside, exhaustion evident in every line of her face. "You saved my life," he said simply. "I could not let you die," she replied. "You are important to me." "Aida," he began, then paused, unsure how to express the depth of what he felt. "I know our worlds are different. I know there are 1,000 reasons why this cannot work. But I love you. And if you would have me, I would spend the rest of my life trying to be worthy of that gift you gave me, the gift of life itself." Aida was quiet for a long time, her expression unreadable. When she finally spoke, her voice carried a weight of decision that went beyond simple acceptance or refusal. "In my tribe, there is a tradition that has been forgotten by most but remembered by the elders. When a woman has been widowed and finds herself alone, she has the right to choose a new husband, to select a man who will be the father of her children and the foundation of a new family. It is her choice alone, and once made, it must be honored." She stood and walked to the window, looking out at the snow-covered landscape. "I have been alone long enough, James Carter. I have been pitted and dismissed, treated as less than I am because I walk without a partner and have no children to carry forward my line. But I am still Apache. I am still a woman of my people, and I carry the right to choose my own path." Aida turned to face him, and in her eyes, James saw not just love, but fierce determination and unshakable resolve. "I choose you, James Carter. I choose you to be the father of my children, to build a life with me that honors both of our peoples, to stand beside me as we create something new from the ruins of what we have both lost. This is my choice, and I make it freely." James felt tears spring to his eyes, overwhelmed by the magnitude of what she was offering. "I am a poor farmer with barely anything to my name. I cannot give you wealth or status or an easy life." "I do not ask for easy," Aida said firmly. "I ask for true. I ask for someone who sees me as I am and chooses me still. I ask for someone who will fight beside me, not for conquest or glory, but for the simple right to exist as we are. Can you be that man?" "Yes," James said without hesitation. "Yes, I can. I will." The path they chose was not simple. They faced hostility from both sides, suspicion and hatred from those who could not see past old wounds and prejudices. James's few remaining neighbors stopped trading with him. Aida was formally denounced by the elders of her tribe, declared as one who had turned her back on her people. But they also found unexpected allies. An older Apache woman, one who remembered the old ways and honored Aida's right to choose, provided them with seeds and knowledge of crops that could thrive in poor soil. A neighboring rancher, himself married to a Mexican woman and familiar with the challenges of crossing cultural divides, offered James occasional work and practical advice. Together, James and Aida transformed the struggling ranch into something more sustainable. She taught him to work with the land rather than against it, to use indigenous farming techniques that had sustained her people for generations. He brought his determination and willingness to learn, adapting his methods to incorporate her wisdom. Their first harvest was modest but real, a tangible sign that their union could create something viable. When Aida discovered she was pregnant the following spring, they both wept with joy. The child would be a bridge between two worlds, carrying the blood of both peoples. They knew the child would face challenges, would exist in the spaces between cultures, but they also believed that spaces between could become places of their own, neither one thing nor another but something new and valuable. On a warm evening as summer approached, with Aida's pregnancy becoming visible and undeniable, They sat together on the porch of their small home, watching the sun set over the desert they both loved. James took her hand, marveling again at the unlikely journey that had brought them together. "Do you ever regret it?" he asked. "Choosing me, I mean. Giving up your place among your people." Aida considered the question seriously, as she did all things. "I did not give up my place," she said finally. "I chose a different place, one that I created for myself. And no, I do not regret it. You are a good man, James Carter. You will be a good father. And together, we will show our children that love and respect can bridge any divide if two people are brave enough to try." As the stars began to appear in the darkening sky, James pulled her close, grateful beyond words for the Apache woman who had looked at a poor farmer struggling in the dust and seen not failure, but possibility. Who had spoken words that changed both their lives forever. "I choose you to be the father." Their story became a quiet legend in that harsh land, spoken of in whispers by those who knew them and passed down through generations. Not as a tale of simple romance, but as a testament to the courage it takes to choose love over convention, to build bridges instead of walls, and to believe that even in the most unlikely circumstances, two people from different worlds can create something beautiful together.